Hello everybody, welcome to the Comic Game Movie Show. My name is Deshaun and today I'm here to review Hulu's Prey. Now, I have been looking forward to this movie ever since I heard about the premise of it. Now, I remember this movie has been in the works for a little bit. Now, the Predator franchise has been one that has had more downs than ups. And to date, there really are only two good Predator movies, which is the original Arnold Predator, which is still a great movie and still a great classic, and the 2000 and, I'm trying to remember, was it 10, 9? I can't remember it off the top of my head, but there was a Predators movie made in the maybe the late 2000s called Predators, and that one was a cool different spin on it, and I like Predators. I thought Predators was a really good movie. I thought it was very underrated, actually. I like the concept that they were playing with there. I like the reversal of it too. I thought Predators was a really cool, neat idea and a neat movie. I did. And then there is, you know, in every other movie it's been pretty bad. Predator 2, I think there was a Predator 3. I can't remember. All the AVP movies, you know, Alien vs. Predator movies were pretty poor. Then, not a couple years back, Shane Black came out with the Predators movie that was really shit. So, Predator is, just like the Alien franchise, has had a rough time replicating the magic of the first one. In Alien's case, the first two, but it's had a rough time replicating that success, that iconic success. And, you know, and a lot of times it was just because they tried to do too much. Like, you know, especially in like the last movie, they tried to explain too much. Like, even in Predator 2, the sequel to the original Predator, they tried to explain more. They tried to talk about the home world. And, like, they really, like, by explaining more and by trying to show more, they actually ended up hurting the character and making the character less interesting. And, like, they started taking it out of the jungle. They wanted to take it other places. And while Predator 2's, the idea of the concrete jungle is cool, it didn't work as, like, Predator 2 is a movie that in concept, you think, that sounds awesome, but then you actually see it and you're like, this execution, the way it is, it's pretty bad. Obviously, Alien vs. Predator is another one of those movies. While I do have a soft spot for the Alien vs. Predator movies, at least because I do think it, just like Freddy vs. Jason, when the alien and the Predator are going at it, it's pretty awesome. It's just everything else is terrible. So it's like, I mean, like, this is cool seeing them fight, but everything else is so shit that it's just like, I don't know if I care. Same thing, you know, so when they are going, it is cool. But, you know, like I said, everything else is so shit that it kind of takes away from it. So, and obviously, Predators, I think, is a really good movie, but it just, you know, maybe it just didn't click with people, and I'm sad about that, but, you know, in the last one, I really wanted to like that last Predator movie, but it was just so bad that it was just, I just couldn't. I just couldn't. The dialogue, the way it was written, and then it makes sense that the movie was bad when you hear that apparently the production on that film was, like, a fucking atrocious. It was a mess. Shit was being rewritten all the time. So it's not a shocker that that movie was bad. I say all this to say that, and that's the thing. Prey has had some positive buzz. The movie is already the highest rated Predator movie of all time. I believe it's in the 90s. It's like at 92% on Rotten Tomatoes. Some crazy shit like that. So the movie came out with high buzz. And of course, when a movie comes out with that kind of high buzz, you're going to get the people who have different opinions. You know, Superwise kind of came out and made his review, and I was like, okay, that's interesting. And I saw a couple other people, a sprinkle here and there, a couple people here and there, were like, oh, it's okay. Like, it seems like you either think this movie is you either think this movie is just pretty good, or you think this movie is this movie is really, really good, and perhaps even the best Predator movie of all time. Now, I wouldn't go as far as to say that I think it's better than the OG Predator, just because the OG Predator, just like, even looking back at it with its cheesiness, I think the OG Predator was just so ahead of it, like, just ahead of its time with some of the things it did, and it was just such a fun movie. I would say, I do think it's the second best Predator movie. It's in terms of caring about the characters, I'd probably say it's a bit more. I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. Like, I didn't know, because like Superwise came out with his video, and I was like, oh man, I don't know, man, maybe. And then I watched it, I'm like, oh no, I enjoyed the hell out of this. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and like, in fact, I'm gonna tell you just a tiny story. I hadn't planned on finishing it. Like, I was like, I'll watch it. You know, I'll probably start watching a little bit of it, and you know, I'll come back to it and finish it. I didn't know if I would. By the time I started watching this, I was just so into it that I ended up just watching the whole goddamn thing. So this time around, now they frame this like this, because even in the marketing, like they frame this as the Predator's first hunt on Earth. AKA, the Predator has been on Earth before, long ago. Now it's hard to like now clearly that means that the Predators story doesn't count, because if you remember in Predators, if you watch that movie, like there was like ancient shit in there, not like ancient, like even more ancient than like I think this takes place in like 1718 or some shit like that. I can't remember the time period, but it's in like the 17s, and like they had shit that was like way older than that in the Predators movie. So clearly this is supposed to be sort of a prequel to the Arnold Predator movie. And maybe, you know, and like this is the first time a Predator came to Earth to hunt. And so it takes place in obviously like the 17, I can't like say it's like 17, 18, something like that, 17, 16, I think it's pretty out there. You know, like the Native Americans are still mostly running around, you know what I mean? And it takes place in this Comanche camp, and we follow this young Comanche girl who who's like, she's kind of the runt of the litter, or she's like the plucky underdog. Put it that way. She's more like, because that's the angle they play with the main protagonist, is she's the plucky underdog. She really desperately wants to prove to herself, wants to prove to her brother, her older brother, who is a warrior, who's pretty, you know, looked up to as the warrior of their people, and he's like, you know, he's looked up to be like a big time guy. And prove herself to her mother, and prove herself to her father who passed, who was also a well-known hunter. She wants to prove she can do this. And you know, she like, and you know, you spend like the first 30 minutes of the movie, and like, this is what a good movie, like, I don't see this enough. It's one of my favorite things. I like, if you ever, like, some of my favorite horror / thrillers or anything that has to do with sci-fi or anything. I often say that my favorite ones are ones that, even if the sci-fi thing wasn't happening, it would still have a story. Like, you know, some people say that they were bored, some people say that but I wasn't, because I really enjoyed the story of this girl, you know, trying to prove herself, and her brother who cares for her. Like, the relationship between her mom, and her brother was beautiful, especially the brother who clearly cared for her. Like, he kind of had to walk this thin line with her, because he wants to push her, but he doesn't want her to get hurt. You know what I mean? He's trying to be like, I understand you want to be a hunter, you want to prove yourself, but I don't want you to get hurt. And at the same time, and it's just this interesting dynamic. And at a certain point in the story, she feels jealous of her brother's accomplishments, and it's just like, and I felt that back and forth. I felt that. I really did. And I enjoyed that. And it ended up making the final scenes have even more impact on me. More impact than the original Predator even, because, you know, only character you really care about in that, genuinely, is the girl and Arnold, really. You know, otherwise, you know, the other characters, you know, they're just kind of chopped liver. You don't really care about them dying. But that is really the crux of this movie that really makes this stand out from other Predator movies, is that you have a much better connection with the lead character than in any of the other Predator movies, other than maybe the first one, I would say. And her journey from, you know, just trying to prove herself to hardened warrior by the end of the movie, it actually tracks. Because even the way, you know, spoiler alert, she kills the Predator, it's all ingenuity, it's all thinking, it's all angles, and, you know, because, like, they kind of make it clear up top, at least even the brother kind of mentions it, that, like, that you are a thinker, you're really good at this, you're really good, and, you know, even at the beginning, she came up with a method of tying something to the tomahawk so that it could come back to her, and she started using it in a different kind of way. Like, throughout the course of the movie, there are things she uses, things she observes, that end up leading to the, you know, her beating the Predator in the end. And honestly, it's like I said, I didn't know how I was going to feel about it, because right now, like I said, you know, right now there's this weird thing going on, at least on the internet. Well, I mean, not weird thing. It's always been going on, but it's just annoying. And it's at an annoying point now of anytime there's a strong, powerful, a girl who does some badass shit, or a strong, like, there's like this posse of like male douchebags who just come out of nowhere and have to question every little bit of how she did that and why she did that. So like so that was kind of in my brain going into the movie. I was like, am I gonna buy that this girl beat this Predator? And am I gonna buy that this girl can kick ass? And there's an awesome action sequence she has with some I can't even remember, some French colonists who were there. I think they were French anyways. Colonists who were there. And when I saw it, I was like, I buy it. Because of the way she was fighting and the way she fought the Predator. She didn't go head up with them. She wasn't punching them, because you can't punch them. You can't outpower the Predator. The whole premise of fighting the Predator is you can't out-technology him. You have to outthink the Predator. And that's what she did. She figured out his weaknesses. She figured out the weaknesses of his gear. She figured out how to use that against him. And it's not how to use these things against him, because she observed. She sat back and observed. And ironically, one of the things she hated the most about herself is that people didn't see her as a threat. And throughout the course of the movie, there are multiple cases where the Predator could have killed her, but the Predator doesn't see her as a threat. And and that ended up actually being the Predator's undoing, is not seeing her as a threat, because that allowed her to just sit back and observe and figure out what makes this creature tick, or at least figure out what, like, a plan of attack against this creature. And it all came together. It all made sense. Obviously, the Predator in this is murdering at a phenomenal level. Like, I mean, the whole thing with the French colonists, man, I mean, he went ham on them. I mean, he wiped them the fuck out. I mean, he had a badass fight with a bear. I mean, like I said, I don't know. I don't think this is as great as the original, but it's really good. I think this is a damn good. This is the best Predator movie in years. This is the best Predator movie in years. Like, don't get it twisted. Don't let anybody tell you. This is the best Predator movie in a very long time. By the time it wrapped up, I was like, damn, that was quick. I was just like, man, okay. Like, I'm ready to see a Predator anthology now. I'm ready for the anthology. Bring back this director and make an anthology. I want to see the Predator hunt. Maybe a couple years from now again. Maybe the Predator comes and hunts this same chick. That'd be badass. She kills another one. I don't know. But all I know is I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. I give Prey an 8.5 out of 10. I had a blast with this film. I had a great time with it. I thought it executed so many things that you're supposed to get well. And the thing is, I was a bit biased because I was hyping up this movie before it ever came out. Just, you know, so anyone knows, you can go back. I remember reviewing the trailer and being like, I like this. Anyways, thank you guys for joining the Comic Game Movie Show again. Please be like, subscribe, and go check out Prey. It is on Hulu right now. Go check it out. Thank you guys again. See you in the next one. Goodbye.